I'm going to call our meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, on behalf of the Planning Commission, welcome to our Planning Commission meeting for April 14, 2026. Interesting point, this would be the last day that we could have in a month to have our meeting, since our meetings are the second Tuesday. So this is April 14. So this is the latest we can push this back, or whatever that's. Pardon me? Little bit of trivia. And that and tomorrow's tax day. So hopefully everyone's, got their IRS goals in mind. So anyways, on behalf of the Planning Commission, welcome today. For those of you that have not been with us in the past, our typical procedure is to look to our staff for an overview of the applications. That's our planner and our engineer. Look to the applicant for any comments that they'll have with respect to their application. The planning commissioners may at times ask questions, and then we bring it back, we deliberate, and make a decision. Pretty simple. Our first item of business is the review and approval of our minutes from our March 10, 2026 meeting. So I'm going to first ask if there's any proposed additions or amendments. I have one before, if anyone's going to make a motion to approve. So does anyone have any? Okay. There's a couple things I'd like to add, and this is with respect to the 63 Scenic Oaks application. On my draft, this would be the first paragraph at the top of the page, on page 3, where it starts, the applicant's representative. So at the end of that, importantly, they had their representative, and I think it may have been the owner, but I just wrote this as the applicant. So this would be just at the end of that paragraph that says, the applicant noted that the property previously received approval for a pool and a pool house in the side yard, and that the pool house met the 100-foot setback requirement. And then at the second to last, in front of the paragraph, which is the motion by Commissioner Hostler, what I'd like to write is, Commissioner Cuter noted, comma, because this is a site condominium in an A6 district, compliance with both the approved site plan and the master deed should be considered. And that's all I have. And if you want to make a motion, feel free to.
I should like to make a motion that we adopt the minutes of March 10th as revised and stated here this afternoon by our chairman.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So our first item is the Planning Commission will consider the request of the property owner at 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway for site plan review for proposed signage. And this item was in front of us a couple months ago, in December, I think. Jill, It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to be
Not
here.
often we get to see you.
I know. I've missed you all.
Yeah, well,
Jill Bain with Giffords Webster, the city's planning consultant, here to talk to you this afternoon, about 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway. As you mentioned, this was before you previously. They have 3 new signs. They've modified their proposal a little bit since you've seen it previously. So they are looking to install a wall-mounted building sign, repurpose a ground-mounted sign structure, and install a new directory sign. So we're in the office district here. We've got Woodward Avenue, we've got some wetland proximity. Normally, we wouldn't necessarily put the wetlands map up with a sign request, but it does have some influence on where the locations of signs are in this area. So we have, I'm going to skip down to here. So here we have the existing sign locations. So we have, I can't use this to point. I'm trying to point. Here we have. There's a ground sign here. We're on Bloomfield Hills Parkway. A little sign here in the sort of the boulevard area. And then a wall sign on the front portion of that building. Oops, I'm going too fast. Okay, so here's what our building looks like today. And here is the proposed wall sign. So if you'll recall, previously the applicant had included a sign up at the top of the building. And I believe they also had included a logo as well. So following some discussion with the Planning Commission, you had suggested that they consider lowering that sign and removing that logo, which isn't permitted. And so here they have proposed that wall sign. Now that wall sign is 16 square feet, it's 2 feet high, and 8 feet in length, with the letters being 12 inches high, 1 foot. So that's sign number 1. This is the same, just sort of showing you where that is in relation to the that wall that projects out from the building. So again, this is the building where it was previously, and here's a number here that's remaining. Again, showing you the dimensions of those with the colors per the city's ordinances, the black and the gold raised letters. Now, there's an existing sign structure, if you'll recall, right out in that boulevard that was formerly, I can show you, the Pulte sign. It's from an old image we were able to grab, which I think is helpful in showing what that was and the purpose of it previously. And for this sign, the applicant is intending to put the address, 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway. Because of the definitions as they are in the ordinance, the building sign is permitted to have, or a building name sign, to have the building name or the street number. But because this has a full address, we're considering it to be an identification sign. So again, that's another type of sign for you to consider. And then the directory sign, which is around the corner, not really visible from the roadway, intended for pedestrians who are entering the building to find where they're going once they get there. So you can see that overall sign is 12.5 square feet. And that is kind of around the corner a little bit over here. People are coming up from the parking lot. Their overall package. So we do have the ordinance references here for you. You do have the letter that indicates those locations, the areas of which the sign meets the ordinance, the few factors in here that do require city commission approval. But for the planning commission, we're really looking to think about how these signs, and I guess I should go back to those. We'll start with the first one then. How well does this sign fit in with the character of the building as well as the surrounding signage on properties nearby with respect to its location and the color material design? So each of those 3 signs. And that's it. They're pretty straightforward. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
Does anyone have questions for Jill? Actually, I do, just a couple. So, as we were looking at this, I noticed on the monument sign, there's a lot of blank space behind the street address. So, was there a discussion about putting another name there, or?
I don't believe so. We can discuss that further with the applicant.
Okay, but it's not something that,
No,
I mean, just looking at how it's presented. Okay,
I think it may just be a design choice, but we can
okay.
discuss that.
And one other question, Joe. So, the address that's on the building right now, do we know what the size of the address is?
Is it on that slide? Thank you. Oops. Wait, did I pass it? There it is.
So right
7.5
now, the
inches.
existing numerals are 7.5 inches. Are you familiar with signs? Do you guys deal with signs at all?
Here or elsewhere?
No, just as a
In
planner.
general? Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
and I do too personally. What do you know anything about what height of letter or numeral is sort of the benchmark in terms of visibility and that sort of thing?
It's really, it's a good question. I would say it's related to the speed of the roadway.
It
So
is.
if it's a
You're right.
smaller, if it's a slower, less traveled road, slower speed limits, you can have a smaller sign. If you're closer to the roadway, a smaller letter. If you're a little bit further away, if you're a little bit faster, you might have a bigger character height. And I would say for something like this, probably the 6 to 8 inch standard is pretty good.
And that's actually my experience from a couple of sign companies, because we install signs. And their rule of thumb, and these are roads where people are going 40, 50 miles an hour, they like to see them like 8 inches. That's sort of their, which would be sort of like this.
Yeah.
And what they're proposing is something that's a foot tall.
Right.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any engineering issues?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Could you let us know who you are and?
Yeah. Good afternoon, I'm Chris Cajoyan with the Cajoyan Companies, joined by Scott Reynolds, our architect, who also helped with the signage package here. So I was in front of you a few months ago and we heard your feedback, and overall theme was to simplify and do kind of a little bit more of a tasteful, elegant design where it wasn't stuff plastered all over the place or larger and higher up on the building. So off the bat, to answer your question on the monument sign, we do not have any intention of putting another name or anything on that sign. It was a design choice from our graphic designer on staff, just to put the address of the building just closer, left justified, so when you're coming around that corner, it's the first thing that you see. And it really is just for wayfinding, and, for anyone coming to the building to know that that's where they are. Because once this harness IP sign, if it were approved, would go on the building, it would cover that front-facing numeral that's existing today. So that would not be visible from the main entrance to the building. So I'm happy to answer any other questions or kind of walk through some of the signage.
Any questions for Chris?
The monument sign, it's gonna be on both sides?
Yes, so it would be justified towards the road on that sign, on both sides, correct?
With respect to the tenant sign, Chris, when you last came before us, you heard us talk about concern about sign clutter. And obviously, your second proposal today is a much cleaner look. But if push came to shove, would you be terribly concerned with the commissioners being concerned with the tenant sign being additional clutter that is really not needed? I
So-
mean, you'd have to be almost deaf, dumb, and blind not to miss it coming in as you have it now. And the tenant sign is almost it almost seems, or it might seem gratuitous.
Yeah, so if you're referring to the directory sign,
Yes,
so that's, from my understanding of it, and Scott knows better than I do, but the ordinance provides for a directory, pedestrian directory sign within the site. So it's not meant to be visible from the road. It's not meant to catch cars coming in. It's once people park to, know, because this is our harness IP building, so that's what we're asking for the building signage for that. But there will not be any other tenant names going up there. So any other major tenants in the building, if there's another 50,000 square foot tenant, someone's going to pull up and be like, oh, am I at the right building? Check the address. Whereas if they pull in, they park their car, they're getting out of their car and they see, oh, okay, conjoined companies are in this building. So we're, I believe, complying with the ordinance with this directory sign. And again, it's meant for pedestrians, not to be visible from the road.
Can I intercede for 1 second? Can you show us, Jill, like on the aerial or whatever, where this sign is?
This,
I mean, do we have an image of the front door type thing?
So I can point, we don't have an image of the front door, but the
right, yeah.
all right, so that's the kind of the main entry plaza of the building. So most people are going to be parking in these visitor spots who don't know the building. Obviously, if they're a tenant of the building, they're going to be in the parking deck or underneath the parking deck. So it's really intended to capture the pedestrian traffic coming off of that visitor parking.
So, Chris, where is it? Is it where that?
So the
that
pink
box
the
is?
pink box here is where, I mean, obviously that's much larger than the sign. The sign's going to be closer to the curb there, towards the parking lot side. So again, it's when you're coming around the roadway, it's not going to be visible, and it's actually parallel there, so you're not going to see it coming from the road.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, it's hard to describe the location there.
I was just going to note that that's about 80 feet from the road edge. So
And-
it's really not intended to be seen by passersby. It's more for the people who are coming into the parking lot.
And that's
and before they
permitted?
come into the building.
So that's compliant?
Yes. With city commission approval.
So, but when you, Chris,
Or no,
when you
that
say,
one was, that
when you
one's.
say parallel, you mean parallel to the parking that's right there in the front by the grassed area, or parallel to the drive? Because it's, when you look at the two images, it's really not clear where the planned install is.
Yes, Scott Reynolds here with Conjoined Companies. I'm the on-staff architect. So the intent is that that the sign would be essentially 45 degrees to kind of the entranceway, so you're going to catch it both from a pedestrian standpoint and a vehicular standpoint. So the lower right-hand image that you see here where that block is kind of facing us, it would be kind of directed, I would say, closely to what you're looking there at that point in time. Again, that's you kind of standing within the site, zoomed in. We took kind of the Google Street View image and kind of zoomed in to give another indication of where it would be located.
But that's gonna be in the grassed island there, you're not gonna take the parking spot, 'cause that's where.
No, so it would be towards the end of the grass island there, and sorry, it would be the vehicular traffic within the site, not from the road that we're attempting to capture.
And so how large is it that we're talking about?
Yeah, so the overall size is 3 by 5. All of the overall sign area requirements are all met by ordinance. So our intention is to have any additional tenants, as Chris had mentioned, that they would go on this sign, the Harness IP. It is the Harness IP building.
And I have my ordinance here, but, so I don't have to look it up. So the directory sign, the size,
15 square feet,
the directory.
yes.
So we're at 12 and a half here.
Okay. All right.
So the directory sign is allowed?
Yes.
I didn't think it was 15 square feet, but that's what it says? Is that what it is? Okay. All right.
Yes, in the letter, right?
So it's compliant and,
Well, when you said 12 and a half, and you said
So it's-
15, what are we talking?
In the review, there's Giffords-Webster breaks it down. The actual ground-mounted directory sign allowable by ordinance is 15 square feet. We're proposing 12 and a half.
Okay. So that, the information on this depiction is incorrect.
No, it's accurate.
No, it's accurate. What we're proposing is 12 and a half square feet. By ordinance, allowable areas up to.
So it could be larger.
Correct, it could be larger. We took a tasteful approach to bring that overall area down.
Is there so that's compliant for them to have it? And where it is it compliant? Yes. Okay. I'm just looking at what's not compliant. I noticed before when you showed, thank you, Jill, for showing this, the monument sign out front, which is grandfathered in, right? Existing non-conforming, right, Jill?
Well, the structure itself is, it's just the sign's been removed from what there previously. So now it needs, that one needs to be pushed approval.
That needs, so it's been removed and you're putting it back?
Well, the structure, the stone, I believe, is still there.
Yes.
It's
Correct.
just that the sign itself has been taken off.
So when the
Yeah.
previous tenant vacated the building,
Yeah.
we took their name off of the monument sign.
So can I ask if it, why are you putting the name Harness IP on the building? Why don't you just put it right there and put 100 like Pulte had it before and then not have the name on the building? That's one less sign.
Yeah, so we think for a wayfinding standpoint, having the address right there where people are actually pulling in is more effective for capturing the rest of the tenants in the building that do not have exterior building signage. And then because we're renaming the building, or actually naming the building, it doesn't have a name right now, the Harness IP building, we were putting the name of the building on the building.
But, I mean, it was Pulte before and it said Pulte 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway, so why wouldn't you put Harness IP 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway?
I think that was the preference of Pulte when they had their signage on the building.
Did they take up the whole building?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's different.
Yeah, that's.
Everybody who's in there won't,
Pulte was
you could be confused by that, I think.
I'm sorry?
Pulte was a sole occupier.
So they were the sole, oh, I see.
We did have it on there, on the previous proposal, the name and the address, and it, the feedback was that it was too busy and that we should simplify the monument sign.
Okay, I apologize, I wasn't at that meeting.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Chris,
So, I'm sorry, just
Go
one more. So, Jill and Eric, so the non-compliant are the numbers, right?
The number of the signs, and to allow the identification sign as a sign type in the O1 district. And then having the building, the name of the tenant, I guess, if the building is being named that, then I think that may, but generally speaking, the name of the tenant is not permitted to be the name of, on the wall sign. on the building.
Unless it's the
Unless
name of
it's
the
name
building, and
which is
I just heard you say, Chris, this is the name of the building.
That is
Because
correct.
that's not exactly how this is laid out here.
No.
That it's the name of the building. It's that this is, so there's a distinction. So is this the name of the building?
Yes, that's correct. So this is the Harness IP building.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And when I asked you at the last meeting, I said, well, they're taking up 60 or 65,000 square feet. And I said, what if another person comes in, you said, well, we'll come back in and ask to put more names on the building.
so
So will you make a commitment now that this is the name of the building and you're not gonna come back and request more names on the building?
I will make the commitment that the name of the building is the Harness IP building. It's the privilege that we're giving them for being our first anchor tenant in this building to get activity. No one wants to be the first one in a building normally. It's very hard to lease an empty building. With that said, we have 150,000 square feet left in this building. So if we had a fantastic company that I told them, you're never going to get it approved, it's not worth the headache, and they said, Chris, please go in and ask on our behalf, I am not going to promise today that I wouldn't come in and ask, you know, whether it's on the monument sign and we got rid of the address or something else, and you guys could say no at that point. But I don't think it'd be fair, you know, if someone's 150,000 square foot tenant, they want to put their flag in Bloomfield Hills, to just outright say I wouldn't come back and do that. But I will commit to you today, we're not going to try to get creative with it and say, oh, it's actually now the Harness IP Google building, you know, something like that. I'm not going to do that. You can look at any of our buildings across the country. We do not plaster signs all over our buildings. Everything's Class A. It's very tasteful. It's very elegant. You know, it's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful design. we do not want to take away from that in any way, shape, or form. It's, still a difficult office market coming out of COVID. I have 150,000 square feet of empty space that I'm paying on right now. I'd love to fill that space up, and I am not going, around saying, hey, I'm going to give you building signage. I'm going to say, there's a spot for you on the directory. I have 3 more panels that I could offer if this gets approved. And besides that, you're going to have your name on your suite inside the building.
So I think we've got to clear this up a little bit, because the file's prepared one way, and I'm hearing something a little bit different now. So we're talking about variances, and variances are necessary if it's the name of the building, and this was not really, as I understood, and maybe I misunderstood what I read.
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind is that the city commission will handle the variance request. So if we think back to what the planning commission's job is, I guess the question for you is, does that matter to you whether it's the building name or if it's an additional signage? If they received the variances from city commission, would that satisfy the location and the character of the proposed signage that they've indicated?
So, to cut to the chase, what matters to me as a commissioner is this wasn't presented necessarily as the name of the building, but a tenant sign that's on the building. And so what our ordinance says is you cannot place the name of the tenant on the building if it's not the building name. And now Chris has explained that it's the building name. Generally, what I see, if this is where we were going to leave this, I think that the letters are pretty big at 12 inches, but if that's where you're going to leave your request, and Chris isn't going to be back here in another year saying, hey, that black space that's on the back of the sign, now I want to put this company's name here, that's inconsistent. And then I guess I'd look at that and say, well, regardless of whether or not it's a variance, it's the planning commission. We're here to review the sign in terms of its compliance with the city's ordinance. So.
But does that change, thinking about what could happen or what they could ask for, does that impact what they are asking for right now?
Well, I guess if this is the name, right now we don't present this in the papers as the name of the building. It's a tenant sign, which is 2 different things. Agreed?
Right.
Okay. So this is new information, that this is the name of the building. And so, personally, yeah, that does matter, because we're then setting precedent for what happens on all the other office buildings in the city. That's personally how I look at that.
And that one, I would, if we could talk offline about that one, or not offline, but later in another time in the public meeting, about the sign ordinance, because I do have some recommendations that might help clear things up, especially for planning commissioners and applicants in terms of what we call signage. I think that's one of the challenges, that we have building identification sign, we have identification, we have a directory sign. If we had a wall sign and a ground sign, and we were less focused on the content of that, I think it would give us a lot more clarity in terms of what we're being asked to approve and what ultimately you end up approving. That's sort of a sidebar discussion for later. But I think maybe taking a step back and thinking about what those signs are. So we've got this wall sign that's proposed, we have a ground sign, and then we have that directory sign. If we, and these are questions for you, are okay with the color, the size, the general placement of those, then maybe that's a good place to at least begin the next part of your conversation. So if you can think about it that way, that might help with respect to what the ordinance is asking you to look at.
So, with all due respect, I think the words in our ordinance regarding our signage are pretty clear. So the policy of the city for years and years has been to minimize sign clutter, and it's been to have one sign, either a wall sign or a monument sign, that is either the name of the building or the address, and then have a directory sign. And that's actually, it's been very clear for as long as I've been a commissioner.
And that
It-
part is clear. I think that, but the wall sign and the direct ground sign, those are up to the city commission in terms of granting the variance for that extra sign.
With all due respect, though, so if you're asking me as a planning commissioner to give an opinion on a proposal, I'm gonna look at it and say, does it conform with the ordinance or not? I just got done saying, I think this looks good. I think the harness name is probably a bit big, but it is what it is. They're 12 inches. And if you tell me, Chris, hey, we're not gonna come back and ask for more signage, that gives me a comfort level versus putting a huge sign on the wall of this building and then knowing that maybe we're gonna come back and ask for more signage on the building. So I understand our ordinance pretty well. In fact, you probably do too, Susan. I think you drafted some of it.
I did.
So-
I agree with Walt 100%. We've been in this city for a long time, and we are opening up Pandora's box. Because every other business owner is gonna come here and say, I want this, I want 2 signs, I want 100, and I want the thing. And to respect what you're saying, you can promise what you want now, but if we're all not here in 5 years and he comes back, we can't do that. It's either gotta, and to me, you're giving, I take it these people will rent this because they wanna put their name on the building. Now you have Walt come in there and he's gonna rent 100,000 square foot, but he's gonna go, I am renting more space than the other guy. That name's on the building, I want my name too. I just, we're opening up Pandora's box. I have to tell you, it'll start rippling through the city. And we will have problems. We have always, and I get it with companies. You know, everybody wants their name on the building. I get it. But people don't find buildings by a sign. They look at the address, they put it in their phone, and they go to it. So I get it. You got it on the monument sign. I don't even want the monument sign, but to me, you can put it here, you can do the monument sign, but I don't think we should have it on the building. You're gonna start every other company coming in here and asking for it.
And if I could, just as a conversation, interject, if I knew that, because we're taking a different posture at our meeting right now than we did in the work papers. We discussed it originally as a tenant sign, and now it's a building name sign. So if you tell me, and if we've got a commitment that Chris isn't gonna be back here requesting more signage on the building, just as we're conversing and deliberating, Mayor,
I'm listening.
he's entitled to have the address.
Yes.
So
It's there.
entitled to do that. And you've got a big display of the harness name. Used to be Harness Dickey, I don't know. Is it still?
Harness IP, but it's
Okay.
still called Harness.
So they've got that prominently displayed on the building. And it seems tastefully done. And it really is compliant then with the ordinance, because what the ordinance says is you can have a monument sign a wall sign, and there's limitations on the height, and I think this is all in compliance with the height and everything. So basically, at this point then, if this is the building name sign, then we're generally compliant with the ordinance. Is that right? If we are now classifying this not as a tenant sign, but the name of the building.
So isn't that semantics? I mean, it really is the tenant sign.
It is.
Well,
It really is, and I
well,
have to
but
say,
but you're entitled to do that, Lynn, under our ordinance. So you're entitled to do that. If you are willing to name your building if that is the name of the building, under our ordinance, you're entitled to do that.
And if I could, the definitions for building sign shall mean a sign which identifies only the building name and/or street number of the building or group of buildings. A building sign shall not contain the name of the occupants and/or tenants in the building unless the name of the building is based on the name of one of the building's occupants and/or tenants. Building sign shall not contain any corporate images, symbols, or logos.
So
And-
that's the caveat. So that's what the ordinance says. So,
And
So-
then, if I
go
may
ahead.
continue.
sure.
The identification sign is the sign which identifies the name of the building, institution, occupant, tenant, and/or activity occurring in the building. An identification sign shall not contain any corporate images, symbols, or logos. So an identification sign may be a building sign, but a building sign is not an identification sign, if that makes any sense. And those are the things that I was suggesting, that maybe we have a little bit more clarity in terms of the placement of where it's appropriate.
And we can talk about that later.
We can talk about that later.
But based on our ordinance today,
Yes.
it's important that this is now the name of the building. And now we've got the address here, we've got the name of the building on the wall.
Right. So we have the ground sign is considered the identification sign, and the wall sign is considered to be the building sign. And then we have the directory sign. So we have the 3 sign types.
So I guess this all goes back, Chris, if you can commit to the city, this is it, then I'm just one guy.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of us here.
But not to answer for you, but I do want, if you are considering, including that as a condition, that maybe we think about the duration of that requirement, how long they may be prohibited from seeking changes to their sign plan.
Can I ask the?
Because you've got what you are allowed, and then there's always the variances, but
Does the city maintain a registry of building names?
We maintain a registry of business licenses, but not building names. So we would have this decision if the planning commission or city commission, actually city commission, were to decide that this is the building name. It would be part of the minutes, and that would be part of the record.
To interject, Amy, we've come across this before. I can't name the building, but there were questions before, and I can't think of which building it was in the city, where it became a question of, are we going to name, are you saying this is the name of the building?
Wasn't JFK, was
No, because we didn't, with JFK, we didn't allow them, they got their address.
it?
That was
They
it.
wanted to put
Right.
some larger signage, and he's got a huge commitment there. He didn't get that privilege, so, but,
If I can make one quick comment,
Yeah.
I just want to be clear as well that we're not trying to be creative with naming the building to get around anything. Across our portfolio, PNC Tower in Troy, which is the tallest building in Oakland County, is PNC Center. And everyone that's in the building will say, hey, I'm in PNC Center. It's a 25-story building. Come on over there. In Farmington Hills, we have Comerica building. We have, was our Allstate building. They're vacating, and so that name is going to change. They were in that building for a long time. So we're not trying to get creative. It truly, even internally, is we refer to it as the Comerica building or this building. And that is the name of the building, and that's what people know it as. So like our marketing materials for PNC Center say PNC Center. And that we understand that, if there's another bank that wants to occupy the building, they may not love that, hey, we're going in the PNC Bank building, but they can go to another building. So I'm not afraid of scaring people away by saying this is the Harness IP building because they're the first ones in. The other comment I wanted to make is we're legally required to have the numerals and the address on the building, specifically the numerals for fire code. So if we weren't allowed to do the Harness sign because of that, we have the numerals here. Essentially, that rule is saying that we can't have any signage in Bloomfield Hills whatsoever. So we're not trying to make this a new sign. I'm not going to come back to you and say, hey, there's a blank space on my monument sign. Can I put this tenant's name on it? I am not going to do that. It truly is meant to be the address for wayfinding purposes for the building. And we, from the feedback from the last meeting, wanted to simplify that and make sure it was more tasteful and in line with Bloomfield Hills. It's carved into marble, on the road. It's, I think, as tasteful as you can get, so.
Yeah, personally, I think that looks attractive, and if you say, hey, this is it, we're not gonna come back, or if we decide we wanna put another name on the building, then we're gonna take the one down and replace it with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I mean, I think the harness on the wall, I mean, it looks attractive, and if you're not gonna add another name, then it's all good. And all I asked you, I get, my initial question was, can you make that commitment that this is the extent of what we're doing here?
Yeah, so I think I gave you too political of an answer before.
Yeah, you sort of walked around that
Yeah,
question, or at least that was my impression.
Yeah, I'm not going to come back in here and ask for more signage. I'll reiterate, you can go to any of our buildings, they're not plastered with signage, so I will not do that. If, Harness signed a long-term lease, they're gonna be a great tenant, they love their space, we love having them as a tenant. If in 15 years, they decide to go buy their own building and move out, and we come back in front of you and say, hey, Harness decided to move, and now we have someone else occupying, 50, 60, 100,000 square feet in Bloomfield Hills, then that's
so
another
you'd
story.
replace their.
Correct.
You're not
I'm not gonna
add
recycle.
more signage.
Correct, and I'm not gonna take this away because someone else comes in and signs a 100,000-foot lease in this building. I don't have the right to do that anyway. So this is Harness's building, and again, I'm proud that it is Harness's building. So we're not gonna get creative and keep coming back in and saying, oh, well, now we have a bigger tenant and their name.
That was my only question.
Yeah, so
Are you
I am not
Are you
going
going
to
to add more signage? Because when I asked you that question in December,
Yeah.
you said, I'm gonna come back and ask for more signage.
I'm gonna tell them explicitly.
Those
it's
were
not-
your words, not
Yeah,
mine.
yeah.
So
How long
yours,
is the tenant gonna be there? What's your lease?
Trade information there, but
Okay.
it's a long-term
Long
tenant.
time.
Yeah.
Because maybe
Okay.
they could, if that's gonna change when the tenants,
sure,
you could make that sort of.
yeah, Dave, and my only question was whether or not we were gonna add more
Right, sure.
signs.
Yeah.
So this, just to be clear, the directory sign, the intention is we have 3 blank panels here. Those, which is internal to the site.
Sure, that's
Those would
fine.
be the names of those tenants. So that would go in, but no, there's not
Got
gonna be a situation where we're
Okay.
trying to put another.
That was actually my initial question,
Yeah,
so you answered it.
I have an additional question. In the interest of clutter, would you be willing to consider dropping your request for a tenant sign, since we don't have a tenant sign? We don't have tenants other than Hickey right now.
You're saying this directory sign?
Yes, why
I-
ask us for that sign
Yeah, so,
now? Who cares? Come back next year,
so,
when you have 3 potential.
yeah, I do have leases out for negotiation right now.
Yeah, but you don't have signed leases.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to come back and ask.
Why
for it.
would
So,
you?
Respectfully, the reason I wouldn't give up on that is because it's
My
allowed
question,
for the
Chris,
ordinance.
is, would you consider dropping that request until you have a client?
I
Either
would-
yes or no.
Yeah, I mean, I'd reiterate that it's allowed per the ordinance.
No, I'm
If you
asking,
said everything else could get done today, and we're not saying you can't have this sign in the future, and I would come back to you, yes, I would do that, but I would say,
so.
I would say
Did I hear you correctly? You would be willing to forego this listing until you have a tenant that you could come and talk to us about the need for a tenant sign, in the interest of clutter.
I guess I would ask what the benefit would be to the city to push that
Clutter.
down the road.
No sign, why have signs when you don't need them?
Because I have actually language in leases that are out for negotiation that say that they would have the right to
That's-
signage
no,
of the
that's
city.
not my
Can I
question.
interject something?
Yeah, please.
In I love Commissioner Arnold. But let me offer this. So as far as this sign is concerned, not that we don't like to see you here, but if you leave those 3 spaces there, since you're entitled to it under the ordinance, I can, it's not an ugly, it's not an ugly sign. I can personally, just an opinion, he's entitled to it under ordinance, and if you can get some tenants and just leave those spaces so that you don't have to come back, I'm not, I guess. Does that make sense or no? Because he's entitled to this direction.
I understand the logic. I was asking Chris if he'd be willing to delete this tenant sign, since he does not have signed tenants today, and be willing to come back to us later, next year, next spring, next summer.
Could I ask a condition I would offer up?
And I heard Chris say, yes, Commissioner Arnold, I would be willing to drop this if you go along with everything else. Isn't that what you said, Chris?
I would propose.
Yes or no?
No, that is not word for word what I said, but I would like to propose, if we approve this sign tonight with the condition that we're not allowed to install this directory sign until there's another tenant's name that can go on the sign. Therefore, we would, whether it goes through the city staff, we would say, hey, we've signed another lease, they're gonna be the second plaque on the sign, can we now go and install the sign? So there would not be the clutter, we wouldn't install it, but that way we're not, taking your guys' time up to talk about this one directory sign. But it would not be installed until there's a second tenant to go on the sign.
What do you think, Commissioner Arnold?
He sounds like a reasonable man, and he has a nice approach, and he has an innocent face. So I would say, what do the other commissioners think?
I have a couple questions. I'm confused. If he's allowed to have the monument sign, and he's allowed to have the sign on the building, and he's allowed to have the 100, what's the variance for? If all of this is permitted that you're telling me, what are we doing a variance? Why are we?
Yes, good question. So we have, I'm going to go back to them again. So, and again, this, I think gets a little bit to the terms in the ordinance. So we have the building sign, which is this, Harness IP is the building sign. At this point, this is the name of the tenant, it's the name of the building, but it's a wall sign and it's proposed, and so because it's a building sign, because this is the building name of the building, it is permitted in this district. The identification sign, which is basically anything else like this one, the identification sign is the ground sign, and this is the one that needs the variance.
Well, let's get back to what the mayor just said. So going to the building sign, and assuming that was how it was presented in the agenda, right? It's a building sign. Is the size compliant?
Yes.
Okay, so the size is compliant, and if it was just proposed to be a building sign with the colors and everything, it wouldn't need to come before the planning commission, right? As an isolated topic.
It would come to the planning commission for the sign, but it wouldn't need a variance from the city commission.
For what?
It's essentially what you're doing is a site plan
It's a
review
site
for the
plan.
signs,
Right.
but you don't necessarily, there's some variances needed that the city commission would do.
So we'd be
others
part of
that
the
don't.
site plan, but it wouldn't be part
Yes.
of the necessary sign.
Yes, your job site plan review for this issue.
Okay.
Now
but
this,
that's
so,
fine.
and then this one wouldn't be permitted because you get either a ground sign or a wall sign, but not both. But then you get a building sign, but no identification signs are allowed in the O1 district. So that's the second variance that's needed for this. And, let's see, what was the third one? Oh, so the third variance was, and it was our understanding that this was the tenant name. And so that was
Right.
part of our confusion.
So, well,
And so if
actually,
it is,
so I looked literally at what we were saying, and so we're listing this out, is we're saying this was the name of the building. So when I reviewed this, you've got this, well, we can't do this because it's the tenant name.
This is the variance request that goes to city commission.
But to Commissioner Hostler's question and the mayor's question, this was presented as a variance because it was a tenant name. However,
Here,
here, based on the information that's become available over the last hour, we are now saying the tenant is now the name of the building. So this is no longer a variance.
if that is stated on the record, then that is the case.
Okay, that was the point I was trying to make about 20 minutes ago. If this is the name now of the building, even though it's the tenant, it's fine. Whoever just read what the ordinance says,
Yes.
you did. It says,
It-
go ahead.
I mean, it's a strange sort of semantical discussion we're having, because under the building sign definition, it can include a tenant. So in a way, you could say that, you know, this wasn't properly presented on paper, if you look at that. But if you look at the actual definition, a building sign shall mean a sign which identifies only the building name and/or street name. A building sign shall not contain the name of the occupants and/or tenants of the building unless the name of the building is based on the name of one of the building's occupants.
Right, well, that's,
So that to me is.
well, so the point,
You know, it's a.
exactly, Dave. So the point is, it's not a variance if it's the name of the building.
Which it is, well, it's.
Well, he
it's a-
just,
it's
but
a-
that's not how it was presented here.
But yeah, but they just.
Yeah,
But-
so, and it's all good. Even if this was an interpretation or whatever, now we've all agreed, this is the harness building.
Yeah.
It's the name of the building, and under our ordinance, you can put this sign on the building, and it doesn't really require a variance. I think, what do we allow, 22 square feet or something?
Color,
Yeah.
size.
Yeah, it can be 2 feet tall by something or other. So this is no longer a variance. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the question is, are you satisfied with the size, the location, the material?
Yeah.
For that?
Yeah,
As the planning
in
commission.
fact, yeah, I said, personally, I am, and it's no longer a variance. And if Chris is agreeing that we're not going to add more signage to the building, and that doesn't preclude, in terms of my question, preclude you from, if Harness moves out, saying, hey, we're gonna replace the Harness name with another name. That seems like a
Yeah.
reasonable
So
request.
that's not something that we're even gonna vote on,
Yeah,
right?
we're not
I
voting
mean,
on it.
Does the owner have to stipulate to withdraw this aspect of the application?
I think just clarifying that they are calling, that the building name is the wall sign, that is the name of the building, as the wall sign.
What are we voting on?
Yeah.
To Will's point,
Just site plan.
Just the site plan, so those three signs, their location, their size, their scale, their color, their materials,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, so that's really what we're looking at now.
It
There's
is.
not variances, really. Outside, I mean, I know one
Right.
sign
They're-
is,
those
it's
are,
closer to the road than
Right,
it's supposed to be.
right.
But that's a grandfathered situation.
correct.
Okay,
And the city commission will consider the variances, which now will be 2.
okay. Any questions for Joe or anything? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that has more conversation or questions?
Does the planning commission decide are you asked, is there a variance required by the planning commission to have more than one sign? To have the building sign and the street sign? I know the director's sign is allowed, but is that something that's being?
or is that city commission?
Or is that only
City commission.
That's city commission? Okay.
Right, but right now, Commissioner, what they're doing, now this has become a site plan approval versus, I mean, it'd still be sort of a site plan, but there's not a variance now because they've,
They still have 2.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the place, one of them's grandfather. You mean the location of where the sign is?
Yes.
But we're not gonna ask them, that's the monuments.
And the identification sign, having the full address out on the ground sign.
At city commission, or city commission.
Okay.
So what's the second variance that they're voting on?
So they're entitled to put their address on the monument.
Just the number, not the
Here's the
street
number.
name?
Oh, so they're entitled to put the number in not not Bloomfield, not the name of the street?
Right.
Okay. So, so the variance then is, placing the name of the street there? Okay. So I'm gonna summarize this one more time, because it is a little bit confusing. Now we've agreed that that Harness is the name of the building. And the signage that's on the building now is compliant in terms of its size and the appearance, the black and gold. So that's all okay. And
It's not on the building, yet, it's proposed.
proposed, right. And spoken like a good attorney. And the signage, the monument sign, you can have the number, but not the name of the street. So the fact that the name of the street here is on the sign is a variance that we know about, okay? The location of the monument sign is, requires a variance, but it's a grandfathered situation, it's already there. It is what it is. And the directory sign, it's compliant in terms of its size and appearance and everything. And in answer to the issue regarding placement, we're saying we're not going to install it until you get another tenant, but when you do, you don't have to come back in front of us. And it's going to be exactly as you're presenting here.
Correct.
Is that, Commissioner Arnold, does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. And that's okay with you?
It is with me.
Okay.
Is it with Chris, once again?
Yes, sir, I'm happy to commit to, we will
Okay.
not install until we have a second tenant's name to go up on the sign.
Cool. All right.
And is it the location of the directory sign that was requiring variance?
No?
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still not clear exactly where it's gonna go, but I think.
Yeah, so am I. But, you
Well,
know,
then let's figure out where it's gonna go, because if we don't know,
well, I mean, it's,
That's a huge red square.
yeah.
you know, I've been in that building a lot. And once you pull up to the right, where those parking areas are, you
I was
can't-
just gonna suggest that maybe.
Pardon me?
It would be
You-
more helpful to think about what you don't want to see, so that your intent is, I believe, is to not see that from the roadway, so that if the directory sign is angled more towards the parking lot, if that works for you all, that might address some of the concerns about the clutter and having things be too visible.
So, not very good with the laser pointer, so that might be more helpful. So again, this is the visitor parking,
Well, but not from the street. I think
Yeah,
was-
right.
was the thing.
and this is, it's, you said 80 feet, where it's currently
80
proposed
feet.
from the
That's
street.
what you have on your plan.
So when you said earlier that it was gonna be parallel, that the way you just indicated there, Chris, is parallel to the parking, and would the directory only have information on one side, that being the side facing the parking?
So I misspoke and was corrected by my architect here, that it's actually at a 45-degree angle on that, and it would be on both sides.
Yeah, so the aerial image that we just saw, it would be essentially straight up and down, so you would be able to catch it. I mean, the intention in the ordinance is that the directory sign addresses pedestrian and vehicular or identification once within the site, and that's our intention, is that you can kind of catch it from both views. That visitor parking where the
So it's gonna be two-sided information.
Correct. It's
Angle.
essentially going to be facing at us right now. You know, it's going to be at a 45-degree angle from the orientation of the building. These are the visitor parking spaces, so typically people are going to pull in, see that sign, and then they're going to park in these spaces, and then also be reiterated whether they come to the front door or one of the side entrances to the building.
So you'll see it from the street.
There's very minimal visibility by the time you go down Bloomfield Hills Parkway and all of the mature landscaping that we have. It's actually going to be, you can see these tall bushes that are here, the large tree. I mean, there is going to be limited visibility. Yes, we can't avoid that with just how much frontage the building has, but the goal from the last submission was to minimize visual impact from driving by.
Okay.
But that's not really gonna assist pedestrian, because, you know, they're,
Most people are parking here, and so the idea is if a company wanted their entrance or wanted people, we have an entrance on this side of the building over here that you can't see, and the sidewalk takes you there. Currently, we have, a small tenant in there that uses that entrance. In the past, we've had a couple of suites off of that side where they've actually asked their tenants to come through there. That was many years ago, but the idea is someone could say, use the west entrance or use the east entrance on that directory sign with their name, or so it's going to capture the people parking here. They're going to be able to see the sign there and come in the front door, or if they park over here walking up, they're going to walk right past the sign.
I mean, putting it up closer to the entrance and the sidewalk, they're gonna see that as they approach the building. It seems a little awkward to have it so close to the drive.
I think the intention is for both, a car turning into the property once they're on the site, confirming that they're in the right location. We do have people go to the neighboring building. You can see their parking lot right here under the number 3 all the time.
Well, that's why you've got the monument in the front.
Correct.
Arches. So there's that, but it's just the directory. I just don't see the usefulness to the pedestrians. I mean, they're almost gonna have to walk around and look at it from an angle. I mean, it seems more intuitive that it would be closer to the building.
I agree, 100%. I think it's out there. No one's going to walk and be in the line of cars coming in, looking at it. I think it needs to be closer to the building. It looks like something from another busy city next to us. Yeah.
Well, so we've got the building sign, which is also, it's the name of the tenant, and it's on the side of the building, and it's compliant in terms of size and appearance, the harness. And it's the name of the building and the tenant, so that's all okay. The monument sign is the address and the name of the street, and so we're all okay with that. And there was discussion about the directory sign and not placing it until another tenant came into play, and there's agreement on all that. So I guess then the question becomes what the commission is comfortable with on the directory sign. And if I could offer one comment, and this is just having been in that building several times, I'm not sure where you would put the directory sign. If it is a little bit of an odd place there, but you do park in that lot, those side parking places. I parked there a bunch of times, and I knew where I was going. But when I'd walk into the building, it's a attractive building, and I don't know, because it's all concrete there, necessarily where you would place the.
So the ordinance,
Oh, okay, I guess I'm trying to.
yeah, the ordinance asks for the sign to be 25 feet from the right of way, and we're providing it's at 80 feet. So I guess I'm struggling, with that part of the ordinance that is being met. We think strategically on the site, I want it to be seen by pedestrians coming in. I don't want confusion with doors and different things on the site. I think for a wayfinding purpose, it's the best location for the building. I understand that if you're looking for it, it would be visible driving by. I don't think it's going to capture anyone's attention, with actually seeing those signs and recognizing them while, driving on a turn, going 25 miles an hour going by. So I do think it is, situated well for the building itself.
So I'm going to look to you guys for a comfort level on, yes.
Commissioner, I think I heard two commissioners express concern about the tenant sign, where it might be placed. And there doesn't seem to be a definitive agreement as to where's the optimum spot for it. If Chris has already said he'll come back in once he has a tenant in hand, signed lease, to resolve that issue, that's perhaps the best time to, why don't we move ahead with the rest of it?
I guess what I thought he was agreeing to was he wasn't going to place it until he had a second tenant.
Correct.
So he doesn't have to, based on what we agreed to, he doesn't have to come back for the directory sign. But taking your point, so there are a couple of concerns that I'm hearing regarding the location of the directory sign. Where would you propose that we place it if they don't place it there? Just so we can have something, an alternative to work with.
Well, personally, it's hard for me to visualize with these images where exactly it is, and I have the 45 degree, but still, I can't get my arms around it. It seems to me if...
May I just have, so on that picture right now where it says Cojanian,
Yep.
so if you had better visuals here.
Yeah, no, I apologize, and I don't mean any disrespect by saying this, but it met the ordinance, so I didn't, we didn't do a whole schematic
Yeah.
layout of where it was. It would be, sorry for blocking part of the screen, it would be right around, down here. So it's not right up here sitting proud, trying to capture all the attention. It's gonna sit back here to capture both the vehicles, trains, and property, as well as the pedestrians.
And that's sort of like part of the problem is
Yeah, no,
everyone's trying to visualize where this thing is.
Yeah, and so we do have the map, but I think we made the pink square too large.
So is are we to assume that there's another entrance in the back for other tenants, that there's gonna be another directory back around the building?
So we're not.
Because why would it matter? I mean, if everyone's gonna come in that front entrance, the directory sign, they're not being guided to this entrance or another entrance, there's one entrance. So wherever they park, they're gonna come into one entrance. And so the directory is gonna be announcing the tenants outside, and then when they get inside the building, it's gonna say it again. So, I mean, I would understand if you've got some tenants that you need to go into door A, and you've got other tenants that are gonna go into door B. I get that, but we don't have that, right?
So a couple of things with this site. I hear everyone's discussion points this evening, and I want to touch base on our submittal to this building. We worked with staff to look at this to be a comprehensive submittal. So it wasn't piecemealed. We looked at this so everyone could see this tastefully together. The second piece is some of the limitations of where we are putting signs, specifically where we initially proposed them versus our revision, is the limitations of this building just based by design, site orientation, all of those things. The motor court design, for example, is one, it's a beautiful architectural feature. It does present some challenges for wayfinding for occupants within the building, which is why the directory sign was proposed within all of the ordinance requirements. Like Chris said, it's beyond the 25-foot requirement in which your ordinance requires. I don't believe there's another ordinance requirement for location placement or another existence or limitation in which you guys have in your ordinance that would further dictate that location. The point being here is that sign is going to be utilized for visitors to the site who haven't been to the building frequently. It's a large building. It's one of the larger, or one of the largest buildings here in the city. So the goal is to identify people pulling into the site with that visitor parking, which is what you see immediately there behind this pink block, right? So it would be located right there. I mean, that's a very large, pear tree that's there, so, it wouldn't even be anywhere near the size of this pink block. I think it was just sized that way for identification purposes for the meeting. 90 to 80% of the building parking is actually located on this deck and underneath. So everyone else proceeds in, they go right past it, they have no interaction with that. So that is why we're discussing these kind of couple of limitations up here at the front, is that A, we have a lot of frontage on Bloomfield Hills Parkway, which is some of, I think, the commissioner's concerns. B, we're, I guess, engaging the existing monument sign because it is an architectural feature that was there previously. It was utilized under a different signage ordinance for that. And then the directory sign, we're obviously permitted by right, is reinforcing that kind of ability to address the occupants or the functions within the building.
Okay, I have a question. So when I'm looking at the compliance of the sign, it seems like it's compliant with everything. Jill, is that true?
Well, except for the directory sign?
Yeah.
Yes, the directory sign is compliant in terms of its location, its height, and its overall area. It's about,
Well,
5 feet.
So,
5 feet, so it's about this tall, and how wide?
3 feet.
3 feet wide.
so Jill, if a standard, one of the review standards is to, you have I'm trying to find the review standard in this letter, but how it compares
Right.
or,
I think
so is that a standard?
the location,
No, how it fits within the community and all that.
I think it falls under your general site plan.
Okay,
review
if
standard.
that's true, then maybe we should just boil it down to what is, because I think Commissioner Hassler is concerned about it being seen from the street.
Can I make a
I wonder if
suggestion?
it's changed to more of a parallel.
I mean, if the directory sign, if the planning commission has no role in where the directory sign is located, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
But,
Right.
but I'm presuming that the location of the directory sign is something in our purview, and if that's true, then I think
Well,
it's,
It's part of the site
So-
plan review, but.
so just to summarize, go ahead.
So part of the site plan review, though, is I think you have some criteria along your lines of saying, does, this is fit within the community? And I think your concern is that it can be seen from the street.
What
If
you
it's not-
landscaped it?
Yeah,
Only screened it
exactly. If it's
From the
not,
street, so you could only see it from the parking lot.
if it's not
And
seen,
landscaped it, you would only.
that's
see
what
landscape.
that's exactly what I'm going to. If it's not seen from the street, and you make it more parallel to the building, to the commissioner's point, maybe you could put some nice, it's a big island with nothing on it.
yeah.
You could put some landscaping on it, and then,
And just to sort of, I think support what was said there, but,
He agrees with that.
what's that?
because I think
So,
what I'm trying to do is balance
rather
what
than-
the commissioner's saying.
We're almost
I
there.
think it's a great idea of the city commissioner, but also what Chris is saying, because they have this feeling that they want this sign out there. And to be honest, when you look at the standards, they comply with all the standards. Although I think it's under the planning commission's purview to have consideration about where it's on the site and how that fits.
We have control over the aesthetics.
Yes.
I mean, that's a consideration.
Yeah.
And so, personally,
They could accomplish
I mean, I want to be
this.
respectful of everyone's comments. Having visited this building, this sign, I don't think it's really going to be, it's not a big deal. It's, when you pull into the building, it's a beautiful building. I think we're going to see the monument sign.
Yeah,
You're going to see the harness name over there. And if you go back to the image that was just here, so let's look at that right there. So where that red, the orange, where it says, was that 24?
Yeah.
So actually, that, the corner there, right, Chris? There, that's where you're going to have the directory sign, right?
Yeah, so I'm.
So you're really not going to see much of the sign. Joe, you did a nice job of presenting that in terms of the 5 feet, but,
depends which
so,
way it's facing.
pardon me?
Depends which way it's facing.
Yeah.
So
I
if he's
think-
willing to tweak it, right,
Well, so
and change
the
that.
reason I wouldn't want to make it parallel is because then, if you're here and it's parallel and you park over here and you're walking in, you're not seeing it. So
Yeah.
if it's, let's just say it's perpendicular. to
Guys,
the street.
I don't think you're going to really see this that much, really.
I think the challenge as well, sorry to interrupt, is hard to landscape because of the angle of the sign line. If I put the sign here,
Yeah.
and it's perpendicular to the building, if I put some additional trees and shrubs in here, you still have a line of sight. You know, to say it's not completely not visible from the street, I think is difficult to accomplish there.
You can't tuck it in?
If I tuck it in, then I'm not capturing the traffic right here, so the intent, from my understanding of the ordinance, is to the interior of the site for it to be a directional signage or wayfinding signage. So once you're in the site right here, it should be allowed to be visible, under my interpretation, which may be incorrect.
Yeah.
So if I tuck it back here and it's fully landscaped, then I'm, yes, it's visible from one side from, this group here, but you're not capturing those people driving in. So
Well, you just said direction. I mean, this is a directory, directional. So, it's the point of this thing, I'm kind of lost on why.
Would it help if I read the definition again?
Sure.
Because I think it is helpful to understand what the purpose of this sign is, and that is, the sign, I'm going to skip to the inside part of this definition. The sign shall be placed at a location on or near the building or group of buildings so that it conveys its message to only on-site pedestrian and vehicular traffic. So we've got, what are the sizes? of
On
the
or
letters
near
in there?
is the operative
But it,
phrase.
but it says conveys its message, so it doesn't mean you can't see the sign from the
Right.
street. You can only, it's saying it can only be read from inside. You
Right.
can't read it
So,
from the street.
so, read that again? You read that beautifully.
Sign should be placed at a location on or near the building or group of buildings
Okay,
so that it conveys its message to only on-site pedestrian and vehicular traffic.
okay. So let's think about that. So what we have now is, we're gonna call this on or near the building, or at least I'm gonna say it's on or near, that it's near the building. We know it's set back at least enough to comply with ordinance, so it meets that part of it. And the other part is that it's not gonna be seen, that it's gonna be
It doesn't
seen just
convey
on
its
the site.
message, right? So it
says you can
conveys its
only read
message
it.
to
It
only
says
on-site.
You can, it says it can, the message can only be read on the site.
And the
Right.
largest
So you can
letters
still
there-
see the sign from the street, and
Yeah.
it would still be compliant.
And
Correct.
so,
And those
unless-
letters are 3 inches in height. So in terms of reading the message, it would be very difficult to see it from 80 feet away. But this, I believe that this sign isn't doing what it's intended to do in terms of directing people as they're coming into the site via car and as they're walking into the building from the parking lot. And it's exceeding the setback.
and you're not gonna be able to see it, you're not gonna be able to read it.
Right.
You've got supervision eyesight here from the
Right.
road.
Does it
And
say
it is,
3
it's
inch or-
black, so it does tend to blend in with some of the, I mean, the landscaping will pop out probably more than the darkness of this sign.
Where does it say the letters are 3 inches?
That harness
we
sign
zoomed
is
in,
so
sorry,
small.
it's hard to, still hard to see there, but it's, the H there is 3 inches tall, and the letter itself is a ½ inch
I see.
wide there.
So aesthetically, so per ordinance, it satisfies the ordinance because it's near the building. And it's generally designed or placed so that it's for on-site visitors. And if this is 85 feet off the road and those are 3-inch letters, you're not gonna be able to read them. And when you go into the site, if we go back to the aerial just one more time, so we're all on the same page, because this is the last hangup. If we can get through this, we're done. No, there's a better image of this.
Oh, yeah, of the same layout.
Where's that other image? Yeah, there we go. So if you're at the corner of that little island there,
Yes,
that's where you're gonna place this, right?
correct.
There you go, right there. So really, you're not gonna really see the sign unless you're on that lot. You're really not gonna see much of it. And I gotta believe you wanna do something that's aesthetically pleasing
Yeah, so,
so that you don't junk up your building.
correct, and I just want to make a point too, it's not going to be right up against the curb. We put flowers around everything, there's landscaping, so it's going to be tastefully landscaped, the sign itself, on the site, so it's not going to be as far out onto that curb as we can get it to catch every eye. It's going to be appropriately, distance from the curb, landscaped, and looks like it's been there forever.
of both signs in your view when you're driving in.
Yeah, you'd visibly be able to see it, but,
You clearly see it from the street.
correct, but it wouldn't be legible from the street.
It's a clutter sign issue.
Okay.
Can you go back to the other image?
Yes. So, and that's where the ordinance was the 25 feet, and we went with the 80, because that location seemed, like an ideal, oh, sorry, you wanted the street view. Well, it's not, striking out. Here we go.
The one in the-
So we're talking about
Signs there.
that sign being from where we're sitting right now, to that counter. And it's, really, we're not gonna,
So we've seen three different, we shouldn't get hung up on this, we've seen three different iterations of landscaping. This, the one on top, the one on the bottom, and then the other one had a lot of other trees. So I don't know what it looks like right now.
well, and to your point, I guess that is different, so.
So, talking about landscaping, we're really not gonna landscape because we don't wanna landscape so you can't see it.
True.
So, I'm not sure what the answer is. The issue's been discussed.
Okay. I think we're all comfortable with the first two, the wall sign, monument sign, and this is size compliant and ordinance compliant from standpoint of it's near the building, and it's certainly not readable from the road, and in many respects, if you're headed east, you won't even see this, because of all the vegetation. If you're headed south, it's gonna be at a 45-degree angle, you're really not gonna see it a whole lot. And it's a large building. I'm sure you guys are gonna do something tasteful, right? And you're agreeing that, you're not gonna place it until you've got a second tenant,
Correct.
and it's gonna look just like you presented it here.
Correct. I want it to look like it's been there as long as the building has.
So,
Can I
And
ask
if
one
it's-
question
If it's
to
not legible from the street, it complies with the ordinance.
yeah, no, I agree.
So,
That's what
there's
I'm
no issue.
saying. That's correct.
I have
So
two
the
questions.
commissioners just need to be comfortable with the aesthetics. That's what we're talking about here, is an aesthetics issue. So, and I'm pretty much comfortable, because I don't know there's another better place to put it, and I'm relying on Chris to make sure that he does this tastefully. And it's black and gold, and I don't think you're gonna really see much of it.
Yes, Mayor.
May I ask my question?
Yes, sure.
Mark, I know that, I just want to clarify for everybody, the commissioner or the chair can say, you're not going to come back and ask for this, but that does not preclude him from coming back and asking for another sign, does it?
I guess I would suggest, just to clarify, that, that condition, I think, be reworded, and I think that's already been contemplated, not to ask for another sign, but just to ask for no additional signage. So, in other words, a name could change, but there's still just gonna be the one sign, if I understood the discussion correctly. I believe that's what the chair was indicating. With the harness IP wall sign, if harness vacated and there was another prominent tenant, he could come back in and ask for that to be changed, or would he be required to?
You can ask for anything.
Yeah.
You just think you've got that ordinance.
That's another thing, just as a general principle, planning commission, ZBA, going to the city commission, you have a right to ask, and there's case law on that. Even where it's clearly illegal, a case I reviewed for another issue, city clerk refused to take an application for what was clearly a request that was not proper for that municipality. And the court reversed it, saying the clerk didn't have that authority. They weren't the one that made the call. So you've got a right to ask. And I don't think that would be an appropriate condition to preclude them exercising a right. You know, obviously they can agree to something, but I wouldn't press that condition real hard. I think the better way to say it though, and I think the intent of that discussion was to limit it just to the one name instead of adding a bunch of names all the way across the front of that building.
Okay.
That makes sense.
If I could offer as well, I'm sorry, we've been in business for over 60 years and have developed a lot in the city, and I think we would have a good reputation for being a good landlord and not having issues of blight or, you know, anything at any of our buildings. And I think we could stand by our word tonight. I'm not going to come in and ask for additional signage.
You didn't look that old.
I personally have not been in the business for 60 years.
So, can we get like a motion? Are we comfortable enough to do that?
Yeah,
No.
I'll move. So, with regard to what was brought as a sign application, we've stipulated that the Harness IP name is the building name, and my understanding is that doesn't require any variance activity from, or any other approval from the planning commission at this point. So with the understanding that there's just going to be the single name of the building, and the building now is Harness IP, I think that issue's been addressed and resolved. As far as the monument sign, I would move to approve the proposed number and text of the monument as depicted and proposed. Finally, agree with the proposed directory sign. The directory sign, with the understanding from the owner that they wouldn't construct it until they had another tenant signed up, in addition to the current tenant. And that's the motion. Right? Subject to city commission approval.
Yeah, that, but also, could I suggest, instead of using the term monument sign, use the term identification sign? I believe that's the correct.
The identification sign, which
Yes.
is out front, the 100
Right.
Bloomfield Hills Park.
It's the identification sign.
And what
So
about the
amended.
condition? The condition that they not add more signage, or did you say?
Well, that being the name of the building?
That they're not gonna come back and ask for more?
We got that from
Oh,
the original, what you said, we got that.
The stipulation that there's only going to be one name on the building.
I second that.
Okay. So,
With all that.
have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So our next item is the Planning Commission will consider the request of the property owner at 74 East Long Lake for site plan review for a proposed sign.
So another sign.
Another sign.
Another office district. This is a ground-mounted sign with just one. So that will let us focus a little bit more clearly. Now, so this is, and I should go back. So we have Long Lake Road here, that has a real big right-of-way. This is one of the areas in the city that has that sort of condition. So if we looked at, and buildings in this area have signs kind of in different locations. The one right next door here, their subject site, the one right next door, their sign is out here, just for context, I guess. So they're looking for a ground-mounted sign. We include this to showcase the property line, their front yard location, and then where the road edge is. So the property line is down here, because we have all that right-of-way. So if we went 25 feet from the right-of-way, we'd actually be inside their building. So that's an interesting condition. But 25 feet from the road edge is about here. They had initially proposed a sign here, and they've moved it back to this closer blue location. So we have that there. The sign does meet the standards for height. It's 5 feet is required, it's 4 feet high, it's 24 square feet. It is the correct appropriate colors, it's not illuminated. However, it's our understanding, this one is a tenant sign, the tenant name, and it has a company logo, which neither of those are permitted. So those will both of those items will require city commission approval. The planning commission is tasked again with looking at the location, the placement on the site, ensuring that it isn't in the clear vision area, which we did look. There's a rendering of that. Is that coming up? There it is. So this would be, the clear vision area for this driveway, and obviously this one doesn't comply. It doesn't affect that at all. Because it's in the right of way, they did need to get the commission from the road commission for Oakland County. They did receive that. And they do have some additional landscaping there as well. So this kind of gives you another idea of where that is. And I'll go back to their shrubbery on the sides of it to kind of soften the side each way, front and back. I guess I'm trying to decide which one to leave it on. Maybe this one? Is that helpful?
Do you have an image of that site and the properties to the west? Because I'm most interested, Joe, in consistency with what used to be the Agri properties.
Yeah, that was
And
the one I was saying, and I
We
don't,
went through a lot,
it's this one, oh, it's this one right here.
well, and we went
Oh, and then the
through-
other one further.
And the one, right, immediately
Yes.
to the west, so all of them, the two Agries, and now it's what, Mac Health or whatever.
Yes.
We tried to remain consistent in the setbacks for both of those properties, and so I would just like to ensure that this proposed location is in alignment with them.
I believe it's actually a little bit further back
Okay.
from the road than the one right next door, the Mac Health.
And size-wise?
Size-wise, it is within the sign requirements of the ordinance. It's 24 square feet and 4 feet in height. It's permitted to be 5.
Just if you remember, well, we actually had them put a cardboard,
Yeah, right.
remember?
Yeah.
So we could understand the size of the
Yeah.
sign.
That looks bigger than the.
It looks bigger to me.
Yeah, it does to me too.
Yeah, that looks a lot bigger. When Commissioner Hostler's right, we really wanted to know where that monument sign, and we wanted to know the size exactly. And they actually put a cutout cardboard, remember that, Dave?
Yeah.
And put it in front of the building of where it was gonna sit. So we had an idea. Because I mean,
Yeah, I'll go back
we're all,
here.
when you look at this and you go, oh, okay, what's within the requirement? Well, we've got some signs that are kind of large in this community that we just didn't realize how large they were gonna be sitting where they were. So that's why I agree with Commissioner Hostler. This has to be size-wise and everything. Because I can see this High Point guy coming and right next to him, and he's gonna go, oh, I want a sign here. Now we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all gonna be different shapes and sizes, and I think we get we know it's coming.
And I think you have a good track record of working with applicants to get the sizes and the shapes that you're looking for. But our ordinance has 24 square feet and 5 feet in height. This one's 4 feet in height. So it does meet the size. I guess if you would think about where that other one is, like I said, the other one is, I don't know, we should have had.
You
a
have the
photo of that
aerial?
one.
The aerial will
Yeah.
show it.
If we can zoom in.
So there we go. Let's go back. So there's the Agri building to the left.
Yeah.
So can you zoom in on that with your computer? There you go.
Yeah.
So you can
You can
see, can you
that
zoom in?
it's right there.
And this is going to be situated further back, correct?
It'll be 25 feet, so roughly here, it's a little bit further back.
But am I incorrect that,
I think it's right here.
Oh, okay.
That's the Macu house, or Macu house.
Dave, do you know whether the Macu Health sign is,
We're scrambling right now to try to find all this.
because it feels like that's lots smaller.
Yeah.
And the mayor raises a really good point that the High Oaks property owner is gonna come in and he's gonna wanna maximize signage, and I'd rather not increase it if we can avoid that.
That looks,
While Amy's looking for that,
I could see it on my phone, but, you know, I got it from a Google image driving by it, but she's gonna try to get the numbers.
what about the logo on the sign? So the logo is not permitted.
But that's a city commission issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a city commission.
Right, but I guess if you're asking for the planning commission,
Oh, recommendation.
you're asking us to make a recommendation, and we have an ordinance that says you can't put a logo on a sign. So I guess if you're asking for a recommendation, it becomes relevant.
What's your recommendation?
We don't allow logos on signs.
Okay. Fine, duly noted.
Is this a tenant name rather, the same issue as we just dealt with? Is this a tenant name rather than a building name?
Um,
I don't think this is the building name, is it?
Probably should have, maybe applicant discuss it.
Here we go.
Okay,
15.79.
Yeah, this is the tenant, but they're the sole tenant of the building.
But they're not the owner.
It's in-
Could we ask who
it's
you
not the
are?
name of the building.
I'm the representative from the sign company.
Are you counsel? I'm sorry? From the sign company, thank you.
Yes, sir.
But I didn't hear your name.
Oh, Carly, sorry.
what is it?
Carly.
Harley, what? We need your last name.
Carly Effelter.
My daughter's name, Curly.
We keep minutes, and so, yeah, we've got to know. Your name's going to be in our minutes.
Yeah, she's
Wasn't this building was for sale, I think. Was it sold?
Yes.
It was.
The current owner.
So this was just sold, I think, recently, correct? Okay. And this is going to be the sole tenant for the building,
Yes.
okay? And so it's the tenant, but it's the name of the building too,
Yes.
okay?
We have some information, but we're gathering more as we speak. 16.3 square feet, something like that, for the Macu Health, and this is 24 square feet.
Oh, so this is quite a bit
bigger.
larger.
Yeah.
This is larger, but we believe that the other one is closer to the road.
That's where we could shrink it.
So that's where that's why I think you shrunk the other one
Yeah,
Yeah.
from the,
it's only 4 feet from the East Long Lake property line, the Macu Health.
yeah, Macu
What-
Health's only 4
Amy,
feet,
go ahead.
4 feet from the East Long Lake property line, Macu Health.
and this
Is
is
that the
25.
same as the one farther west, the next one over?
I don't think they have a sign.
They don't have a sign.
I believe the commitment, you mean on the High Oaks or the other
No,
one?
the other way. I thought we had two. Oh, I'm thinking of a Bepalpura across the street.
Yes,
The Macu Health is what size?
16.3 square feet.
Is that including the stone underneath it?
yes.
That's the stone underneath it? Well, that's plenty. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it on my phone because I'm a visual person. We don't need all different signs on that road. It's gonna look funny. Whether you're close or far or whatever, it's gonna look funny. It should be consistent looking.
Okay, so you think this should be sized more closely to the was that Manu?
It's called Macu Health? Macu Health.
Do we have the right to say that if the sign is within the ordinance? Or do we
Well-
need to change the ordinance?
Actually, I don't think it's within ordinance because it's in the right-of-way, right? So.
But I mean the size of it, just simply the size of it.
Yeah, there is one aspect of the ordinance that's not complying with it, because it would be in the building. If it followed the ordinance completely, the size of it, it follows the ordinance, but it's not, doesn't follow the ordinance from the setback. The setback, it would be inside the building, because the setback is from the right of way. And so the setback, they're having a setback from 25 feet from the road's edge, but it's from the right of way, which usually is about 15 feet inside of a property line. And then it's 25 feet there, but in this case, it'd be inside the building, so it's not compliant with that.
But we have the right, going back to your point in the last one, of being aesthetically pleasing, correct?
Right. Well, plus, as city manager pointed out, it's not compliant because it doesn't meet the setback requirement. So they're asking for relief. They're asking for a variance to place the sign where it is. And so that would give the commission, ultimately, the city commission, the privilege of saying, well, it's not compliant. We're going to ask you to downsize it so it's more comparable to the existing signage that's on the street.
And city attorney, there's no problem with that discretion being exercised, right?
Your ordinance limits it to 24 square feet, as I understand it. This sign is 24 square feet.
Right, but if
As far as the name of the tenant and the logo, that's not really an issue before you. The issue before you is it's going to be not complying with the setback requirement. To the extent you're going to approve a deviation from the setback requirement conditioned upon the applicant considering a reduction in sign area, you can ask if they would be willing to make that concession.
Well, if we're doing nothing more than making a recommendation to the city commission, that when the city commission here consider this matter, that it would be our recommendation that the logo be removed, and that in order to get the setback approved, the applicant would need to agree also to reduce the size of its sign. Is that something that?
I think with regard to the name on the sign and the logo, your decision on that would be if the city commission allows it.
Yeah.
You don't really have a role to make a recommendation on that. That is a city commission decision. The approval of the sign location and size is more the planning commission purview, and I think there's been reasons given why it can't comply with the setback requirement. And if you would like to have a discussion with the applicant on a size reduction based upon that, I think that would be appropriate.
Harley, C-A-R-L-E-Y.
Carly, sorry. Do you have authority to agree to things like size reduction, or is that outside of your authority?
To my understanding, our client is eager to get this sign approved. So I'm sure if you guys said that if the size needed to be reduced, I could go to him tomorrow and let him know that upon us reducing that size, the permit be approved. He would be fine with that.
Can I take this then one step further? Can you see, Amy, you said it was 16 square feet. Do you know the size? If what we're doing is we're saying, to the mayor's point, it'd be nice that they sort of all look similar. Do we have any idea what that 16 square feet is?
Yeah, Ian will look at right here.
Size of the dining room table.
No, I'm talking about
But it's
the,
the height.
no, I'm talking about the size of the building next door.
Oh, the building, okay.
Yeah.
Is your screen touchscreen?
No.
No.
That's 3 feet though, 32 inches.
I think it's a great base.
The base.
That is?
No, the 1612.
It's just the sign itself and not the.
Can you go back to your letter?
Yeah.
Thanks, because I think your letter
I
said
think we've got to do some clarification on that. I'm seeing that looks bigger than I thought.
Thanks. So the area of the sign, see where it this is. Right there. See the difference, the structure and the sign.
Oh, the structure's 20 square feet and the sign is 24 square feet.
Next door?
Yeah. The structure is 20 square feet. It's 16,
No, that is what's allowed. That's what's proposed.
oh. So the sign, the existing, so this is a total of 24
Yes.
with the base and the top? Yep. So according to this letter, the sign is 15.79 square feet and the structure is 16.31 square feet.
You're talking about Mackey.
Yes.
Yes, so if you look at the picture, there's a big brick base. And so this is essentially 31 some square feet, so it's bigger.
Can you restate those dimensions, please?
Yeah.
This is according to the letter. I don't know if there's any changes in the meeting, so that's the problem.
Yeah.
But according to the letter, there's 16.31 square feet of the existing sign support,
16 point what?
3.1.
Okay.
And, well, the existing sign, I don't know why it says existing sign. 15.79. This could be,
That's what was in our file.
that was in a letter. You have anything in the?
No, I can't get them.
You said 15.78?
Yeah, 15.79 and 16.31, but it doesn't show the dimensions there.
It would be in the agenda packet. I don't know.
I just can't pull it up.
You can't, okay.
The only thing, the
I mean, I
reason
can-
why is because it doesn't look as big because of the stone underneath it,
Right.
and then the black and gold sign on top makes it look smaller.
Right.
It's very aesthetically pleasing because
Yeah.
it's stone and character and everything, but it's that black and white sign on, or black and gold sign on top.
Well, would a recommendation saying nothing more than this sign recommended to be consistent with the dimensions and depiction and coloration of the Mackey Health building, is that?
I think
Yeah.
that would be a workable solution.
Okay.
The sign obviously up there is what it
It
is.
is what it is.
And we'll try to find that for the city commission,
Okay.
But no larger than this.
no larger.
No larger than this, so this is 3 feet tall?
4 currently.
No, well, I'm looking at the sign.
Yeah,
It's 3 feet tall
yeah,
by 6 feet long,
yeah.
okay? And so, no larger than that? Yes, sir.
I would suggest not getting into that detail,
Yeah.
because if I remember, the proportions of the base of the existing sign is a lot different than this.
Yeah.
It is.
I agree.
So I would just go by the overall.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
for
we
what's
just
worth.
recommend that it be the Mackey Health sign,
I
Close-
agree.
Close in size.
close in size.
I agree.
Okay.
And regarding the logo,
Don't
I
recommend it.
I would suggest that is up to the city commission.
Yeah.
right?
But duly-
But
but
we're
duly
making
noted
a
in there.
recommendation, so,
Your
We're fine.
recommendation would be, subject to approval by the city commission.
right, but for me to vote in favor of recommending this, it would be without the logo on the sign.
This is an observational recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we're making a motion, make a recommendation. So the recommendation then that I'm hearing is that the signage be similar to was it the Man U Life?
Yes.
Mackey Health.
Macu Health, it was, something, Health, Life. Macu Health sign, and that the logo be removed. Can we, I don't know, if someone's gonna make a motion, I can vote for that.
Yeah.
Or you could
Sounded
say,
to me like all we could do is make a recommendation to the city
Right.
Yeah.
commission and
or you could say that
we
the,
can't put it
Right.
right in the motion.
Right,
the
yep,
verbiage,
so,
the the verbiage is, or the sign is consistent with the ordinance. I think it is, without the logo.
Right. So, does someone want to make that motion?
Well, I won't confuse what you just said, but I guess my motion would be to recommend to the city commission that the application be approved as far as the setback and the dimensions of the sign to be as close as consistent with the neighboring sign at the Macu Health property. And for what it's worth, the observational recommendation that the city commission not approve any logo.
That works.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there you go, Carly.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next item is the Planning Commission will hear an update on the land use study. Jill, you're on.
Okay, so this is just a brief overview for the Planning Commission to share the issues and the context for the land use study that is going to be underway, talk about the scope of work and the process, including what happens after, just showing you our project page for community transparency, and just a little bit of the zoning and master plan, but we're going to get more into that later. So what is the context for this land use study that the City Commission has asked for us to undertake? I think really the first applicant, if we think about not what they were talking about with their signs, but what they were talking about with their office space, is a big key factor in what we're doing here over the next couple of months. So we know that the Woodward Avenue corridor offers a very unique setting. We've got really interesting topography. We've got significant tree canopy. We have very well-maintained median that definitely stands apart from other communities that share this corridor as well. We have historic structures, and we have a variety of land uses. Because of its attractiveness and the appeal and the location, you have attracted prestigious cultural institutions and businesses for many, many, many years. Over time, primarily, if we think about this area, office uses. The corridor also functions as the front door to the city, and so we want to make sure that it not only reflects the character found within the residential neighborhoods, but that it kind of goes both ways, that we're sharing that reflection evenly. During the COVID pandemic, we had seen a lot of people obviously had to work from home, but that really accelerated a trend that was already happening before the pandemic started, with new technologies sort of accelerating that momentum for us. I think probably most of us know the office market declined throughout the region and nationally after that, and as the pandemic eased and we all came back to work, many businesses evolved into a hybrid program. And so along with that hybrid work program, though, businesses are starting to downsize their space needs. And officers or office users are saying, you know what, if we have to come back to the office, we want a really nice space to come to. You've got to make it worth our time. So a lot of office users are seeking updated amenities, so really thinking about high-class, Class A spaces. So we know, though, in 2025, 2026, the office market is showing signs of improvement, but we do see a lot of vacant buildings or for sale buildings, signs up in a lot of our communities, and this is no different. And we just had the representative from Kajayan say the same thing as he was sharing his story about his building that they're trying to get filled. Because this is such a unique setting and the city is such a desirable place to work and live, a lot of the property owners and a lot of the office building owners are calling and asking about other options for their properties. So to get a better handle on the development and the community needs, City Commission passed a moratorium on non-residential building permits specific to the city center area. So we're really focusing on this area here. This is a zoning map or land use map of our of the city here, but we're focused on primarily this area of Long Lake and Woodward, where we expect to see some different kinds of land uses, but we've still been largely office-based. And this is just showing everything that's not residential, because we aren't really addressing that at this point. So what are we going to do? We want to conduct an analysis and observations of our existing land use in the corridor right now, understand the current master plan designation. Your master plan was initially prepared in 2009, and you've been very consistent with reviewing it every 5 years and confirming it, adding in new objectives and action strategies to keep that moving forward. But looking and understanding what that means with demographic and socioeconomic trends and conditions, traffic conditions, and other relevant influences. We'll put some maps and graphics together to illustrate those spatial relations, some of the development characteristics and key planning considerations. We also will be doing a market assessment that will give an overview of the potential market for office uses and other uses, probably including retail and commercial. Maybe there's other uses that may be needed by city residents. This does include a consumer spending survey to understand the dollars that are leaving the city and going elsewhere. Following this data collection, we'll come back and share those findings with the Planning Commission. Most likely that'll be the June meeting. Before we move into the next step, which would be public input. So for public input, right now we have, as I said, the consumer spending survey that will be asking specific questions about the way that the residents spend their money. And then we may find, though, that once we get through the initial existing conditions and the initial analysis, that the Planning Commission has other questions that you would like to ask of the community. And so once we do that, we may put some targeted questions together. Our initial thought is maybe we could use the 2009 master plan survey. I think that was your last large-scale survey effort of the community. And it might be interesting to see if there are any changes in the things that people said and commented on in 2009 that may have occurred since then. That may be too much information in that survey. We may want to dial it back and be more targeted for this purpose, this study. Which is probably what we would recommend. The more that we do master plans in the last few years, people don't want to do surveys anymore. So we are finding that if we can break them down into smaller chunks, we get a lot more participation, which is what we want. We also have prepared, as you can see, the image on the right is a web page that we will link to, or have linked from the city's web page. So people can go to the city's web page and then find this. And so we don't have to remember another web address or anything. But on here we'll have what we have tonight. We'll put this presentation on there so the community can stay in the know and see the timeline on there. And then once we get ready, there's a little button there that says join the conversation. We'll have the survey questions and the link to the consumer spending survey there too.
Do you verify that they're residents?
We can.
Yeah.
People can say what they are, but we're not geotagging them to this specific area necessarily.
Don't they need to show their address?
Not when they do a survey. And for consumer spending survey in particular, it is asking questions about income that I don't know that people would feel comfortable asking. So we try to keep those surveys anonymous. But there might be other surveys that we put with the webpage where we ask questions specifically that I think we can certainly ask those questions. And I think those would be really relevant and interesting too, to see, are you a resident? Are you a business owner? Are you a property owner? Are you someone who's in the workforce locally? We can ask those questions. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because, who knows the motivations of individuals or entities to infiltrate and skew a survey, and this is information that locals we want to know. So I think it's really important to have some some ability to know who's responding,
Mhm.
and as much as we can without getting too
Right.
invasive, that they're a resident. You know,
Well, yeah.
they live here or they work here.
Didn't we
Don't they just-
talk about this in just our first
Mhm.
initial briefing before you went on vacation?
Yeah.
Um, Didn't we talk about how it should be mailed and that we could do that with the city? We have the capability to do that. So we can mail a survey or whatever you have to each household. And then we know we're sending them to a resident
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And on that, we could ask them if they want to give their information. You know, with PII nowadays, you gotta watch everything you're doing, but, you know, they could voluntarily tell us, resident of the city, they could even tell us, we could ask a question and say, resident of the city for 20 years, you know, something like that. But I think it's important that we mail it.
So the survey, mail the survey and then have paper responses, or have, okay, because that's a different, then we have to enter all of that data in. And then we'll figure out how to do that. I know one of the questions in the consumer spending survey is how long have you lived in the city?
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
does help with
Yeah.
that.
I just think,
Is there any way on the website to verify their address and that they're a resident, so that you don't have to go through the post?
I would like to think about how to explore that, because I don't want to, I don't want to stop somebody from participating because they feel like they're being tracked or their answers are being monitored.
We can help with the data collection.
Okay.
The staff can help you.
Okay.
okay, thank you.
We'll figure out how to
Thank
do
you.
it.
But we
Yeah.
have, Amy was the one, you said we have the capability to do in-house.
I mean, we could always mail to notify the people, and they can,
No,
but then they
it's
can
gotta
go
be a survey.
online, but then they can go online and do the
Because
survey.
an office, if an office wants sidewalks and wants something, then they can just make all of their employees, their 100 employees in their building, take the survey.
The
And that's
first,
gonna skew the whole survey.
the first survey that's going out is just the consumer spending survey. So it's not likely, that'll be those answers will come up different.
Why are we asking people what they make?
We are asking people how much they make and where they spend their money to understand if there are people who answer that question, or they don't have to. So, I mean, I guess we'll see how that response rate comes in, but we do these in many communities and we
Does
do
the city
get good
commission have
feedback.
involvement with what your surveys say and what they ask?
The consumer spending survey, we did review with staff and with the mayor. And
I
the
think I saw it.
the consumer spending survey, the one that was just the questions about, how many times do you go out for lunch, where do you
Oh,
go?
I didn't see that,
Okay,
sorry.
I'm sorry,
So-
I thought you had seen it.
I didn't see it.
We saw it.
Okay.
I think I would
Staff
like the
said.
commission to review what the survey says and what goes out to the residents.
Sure.
If I could offer something, having gone through several surveys for the city. So with the master plan survey, that was in writing, and the questions were really quite limited. They're in the master plan, and they were relevant from the standpoint of they asked base questions. Do you like the low-density environment that we have in the city? It was pretty clear, and I think the return rate, I worked on it, was about maybe 40%, but we knew where the responses were coming from. They were residents. We did a survey in 2012, which was a larger survey. It addressed issues well beyond those that were in the master plan, which doesn't sound like anything that would be relevant to this. And then we did one in 2015 and decided not to do it because the commission at that time decided that it wasn't going to bear fruit and really provide the city any meaningful information. But all of those were in writing. To your point, if someone's sending out surveys and asking how much money you're making in this community, And I can also offer that when we did surveys in this community in the past, they were reviewed by, for the master plan, the planning commission. And this is more of a city commission issue, so I'm gonna, I guess, defer to the city commission. You guys can review all this. But, well, apparently they've already got this formulated, but because there's,
And
But-
I
but
hear
let
those
me just-
concerns, yeah. No, I
so,
get it.
We also spent 2 or 3 months before a survey went out, because the way you characterize the questions can significantly impact the answers. And so, as you guys tread down the development of whatever questions you're asking, I think that should be a consideration, because the commission was really actively involved with that.
The survey
Yeah,
that I
so-
recall, the answers were greatly agree, you know, it was just, it was a very easy
Right.
survey.
It was
You don't have to
ve-
write anything.
No,
you just
no,
Right,
say
it was, do you like the
disagree,
low density,
greatly
in-
disagree, that
do you
kind of
like the
thing.
low density environment that we have and want to preserve that?
So 2 things. The consumer spending survey, I also had concerns about that in this community and whether people would even participate in that one. So we can take a look at whether that one is really necessary, or if we can get the information that we want or need without doing that, because I feel like that might slow us down, and I know that we do have a timeline associated with our study. The other questions, which might be more of like, when we get some feedback from our data collection, maybe more specific things about what people are interested in, what people want, and those will work with the planning commission when we present this to talk about what do you want to know, what would be useful information from the community. So I don't know that we necessarily need to get too bound up with the survey stuff right at the moment. Let's get through this, because we can come back to the survey things later, I think.
And in doing something that, excuse me a second, doing a computer survey, computer response survey, I get surveys all the time. I never answer them. If someone was to send me a computer survey and ask personal information, I wouldn't be inclined to answer that. And if the city relied on its computer records to send out a survey, you wouldn't even get a survey. I wouldn't even get your survey, because I'm not on the city's, I'm not on your newsletter, so I wouldn't even get it. So I guess I'd dovetail back to what was done with the master plan. Those were pretty clear and simple questions. It was by mail, and it didn't go into some of the information that we're discussing. So,
Great.
Jill, can we get a commitment that you won't send anything out?
We will not send
Survey
anything out.
without getting
We will not send anything out without approval from the city.
planning.
We don't have to do it on the day of the meetings either, we can do it another day, or be shorter that way.
We'll figure, that's a detailed question that we can definitely figure out. The larger point is that we want to collect as much information as we can, but within this mindset of, this isn't a master plan, this is a study, and we're doing it for a specific purpose, and that's to help planning commission and the city commission assess what, if anything, needs to be changed within the city's ordinances. So the final report is influenced from the planning commission, yes?
No, it's not a question, it's just a comment that, particularly because we're talking about the commercial areas specifically,
Yes.
everybody who owns a business or works in Bloomfield Hills isn't a resident. So it's really, their input is gonna be really important.
It is, very much so, and thank you for mentioning that. Part of what we will be doing is having focus group discussions with property owners in the area and the businesses too. Just to understand what the market is. We can look at statistics, but it's different than talking to somebody one-on-one and understanding what their thoughts are. Those conversations will be confidential, so people feel comfortable sharing whatever. And then we'll share. And then it's up to the planning commission, the city commission to determine what the next steps are. Any recommendations that we have of strategies to update the zoning ordinance and or the master plan will be simply that. They will simply be options for your consideration. They'll be presented in a way that you might look at those and say, well, all of these are not, none of these work here. We don't want to do any of these things, and that's fine. But the point of this is to do the study, to do the exploration, to understand what constraints there might be for property owners in this area, and how to ensure that the long-term health and success of the corridor. And I think that's the other thing to keep in mind. As you go through the corridor, you might start to notice that some of the vacant buildings may be looking a little bit more tired than they had been a year ago or 2 years ago. And we really want to make sure that we aren't doing things to inhibit change and redevelopment in a way that ultimately takes away from what we really want, which is to maintain that really high quality, beautiful corridor that is thriving. So that was it. That was my last one. So any questions from that?
Yeah, let me just pick up on what Commissioner said. And this is dealing with the commercial owners / occupants of the city. I think that's very important. I mean, your example about, well, you don't want to get 100 of the employees hanging on sidewalks. I'd want to know that. I mean, if that's what it's going to take to have a business stay in Bloomfield Hills, and they really want to walk to a restaurant, which we have one less, I think that's important data.
That's a good point.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if we're addressing the health of the city center, which is going to include businesses that aren't going to live here, we need to know what they want. We may not agree with it, but we need to know what they want, because otherwise they're not going to stay here.
Right.
So however we develop this survey, maybe it's a hybrid of mailing to local residents and also shotgunning it to business, on the web. I don't know, but I think we really need to know who's using and wants to use the city center maybe differently, because that's what my understanding of this whole exercise was. Because we got to figure out whether we need to build a different mousetrap.
Exactly.
Could you interject in those surveys, like, when you ask these businesses if they'd be willing to contribute financially to the sidewalk or to whatever changes they
We can figure out how to word that into, and again, this isn't going out now. We're going to come back and talk to the Planning Commission in June. And so we can be thinking about what kinds of things we might want to know. But there may be additional information that we glean from the focus groups that you say, oh, yeah, well, let's find out about this. I mean, we can even ask that of them while we're meeting with them.
If you want to do it sooner in June,
What's
we're
that?
all here in the spring, no one's anywhere else.
Yeah.
We can do it in 2 weeks. We're all willing to see it sooner.
Well, and to that point, to stipulate to an SAD, right? I mean, would you voluntarily agree to an SAD that meant improving this or that, or God forbid, sidewalks?
Well,
Yeah.
you actually, Jill, in our initial meeting, we got 30 minutes before she went out of town, but you used something that was interesting. Built, not sidewalks, but
Oh, I was talking about pedestrian connections.
that's what it was.
On private, and it was interesting because I came by on Saturday and took some of these nice photos because I thought it was going to be the only sunny day that we had, and the weather was not exactly correct, but we've been fortunate to have a little sunshine every day. But anyway, I was out there, and there were a few places that I saw that there's intentional. There's a staircase that goes from I'm going to not get the address right, but on West Long Lake down to the back of that huge parking lot. But there also looked like some places where people were trying to make the connection themselves, like through the wood chips between businesses. And so that was a cue to me that, oh, people are trying to get through here. They want to walk. It's a pain to go from one side of Woodward to the other if you have to get in your car. Or even, from one side of the street, like north on the same side of the street, just to go around and do all the loops. So is there a way that we can do that? But can we do it through, and I think that if the business owners feel that or property owners are hearing from potential tenants that people want more walkability, I think they would be willing to do that if it's just allowing people to walk through. Like, let's formalize that little
Well,
wood
I
chip
mean,
trail.
what was it that you called those things? Pass-throughs or
Like a
what?
pedestrian passageway.
I mean, so I mean, I would think,
Instead of sidewalk.
do you know of
Yeah.
any other communities where they'll give like tax breaks to motivate a property owner to give an easement?
You can put it in the ordinance.
Well,
But,
you
yeah,
can't force someone to give an easement for, you know, with the liability and everything else, but if there's something that, you know, you can do as a community to motivate the property owner to,
you could incentivize
stipulate to
that.
something
You
like
could, you could do a business improvement district where the businesses are being assessed to contribute to that. Now you have a bigger pool of money to work with. You could do a corridor improvement authority or a downtown development authority. One of the things I thought about while I was out there, and our team is gonna do more of like a in the weeds. There's no weeds out there, but we're gonna walk around through the whole area and just see what we see. But one of the things I thought about was, you know, everybody likes their own parking spaces, their own piece of their land. But if there was another mechanism, could there be some blending of that? Could we share some things a little
yeah,
bit better?
like those cross reciprocal easements, I mean, there's a lot of parking back
Right.
there. And somehow to motivate the property owners to
Right.
participate in something like that, there's gotta be, you know, there's gotta be a carrot.
Right.
But that's part of the planning here, that I think
Okay.
we're all motivated to explore.
Jill, can I ask, like, if we get to a point where we want walkability, but is it okay, with ADA and all that, does it always have to be a solid sidewalk that a big wheelchair can use?
Well, your
I mean, is
engineer
that
is
what you
here.
meant?
She would probably say
Can't
yes.
ever just like have beautiful stepping stone, I mean, like,
If you're promoting it as a public way, it would need to be ADA accessible. But if there are other ways that people can access the property, you can do other things. If that makes sense. Am I right?
You need a route
Yes.
for
Yeah,
a wheelchair.
Right,
That's
not
the way
every
you
route,
define it, but
yeah.
it doesn't have to be every route.
Yeah.
There
Right.
could be multiple areas within the property, but you do have to have an area that a wheelchair can get from a parking to a door. But they don't necessarily have to be able to get all the way around.
Like you've got from the Long Lake down to the big parking lot, you've got a big staircase there.
Yeah. So that's okay to have a
yeah,
staircase, but you also need to have a ramp nearby too that they can also use.
if that's the only way to get there, yeah. But to your
Yeah.
point, I mean, if there's a bunch of different ways to get to a particular area, they don't all have to be ADA. I mean, as long as you have one that's reasonably accessible.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I just want to clarify,
Yes.
because there's a lot of talk around the survey piece of it and everything.
We're not doing the consumer spending survey at the moment. We're gonna pause on that
Yeah.
because I had concerns about it initially, and I want to make sure that that we have alternatives, that we can understand the market without getting invasive with people's time and effort and
Okay, so
information.
will you guys come up with
Yes.
what that survey
yeah.
is or how
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do
yeah,
it?
we'll
I
do
think,
that.
I think unanimously, unless I heard differently, is that they really want a paper one.
That's fine.
I mean,
Right.
I was laughing this weekend, just as a perfect example is I got mail and it was a Nielsen thing and I went to go throw it away, but I flipped over on the other side and there was like a Clears thing and it showed $2 bills in there. And I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna open it up. So I went to go open it up and they want me to take my phone and do a QR code to go to the survey.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm keeping their $2. I'm like, so
If
I
they
just
had
think.
included a pencil, would you have just filled it right out?
Oh,
there?
yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
In an envelope?
Yeah, I would have done it.
All
So I just think it's easier, because I'm thinking, okay, well, I can sit out at the table and I can do this and I can flip it
Yeah.
in the mail and be gone. I'm not gonna do it on my phone. but that could be my age too. I just think that, I think you'll get a better response rate if you do a paper and we know where it's going.
And we want we want it directed to the residents.
Right.
I mean, as a commissioner, I want to know
Absolutely.
what our residents want.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
They're paying most of the taxes in the city.
Yeah.
I want to know what they want
right,
first,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
that's a good point.
The city did a survey of businesses at Long Lake and Woodward about 10 years ago, and they asked about sidewalks and connecting the area. And at that point, I think the cost, it was over $1 million. It may have been like $1.5 million. It was a big number because you've got a lot of traffic control, pedestrian traffic control that's not there now. There was some interest, but no one was willing to pay for it, and it only serviced that area. So.
That's why I think it's important to incorporate that and
Yeah,
import it for the residents as well as.
There's a business owner I know that's in that strip center, and I asked him what his thinking was, because he was around then. He said, well, it's an interesting idea, I don't know I'd want to pay for it.
But, I mean, no one wants to pay money, they don't have to, but I think, to me, the point is, they're gonna leave, right? And are we gonna get lesser quality businesses because we're not providing the environment that they want? I don't know, does the city have to pay for it? I mean, I'm not suggesting that, but I think that's information we need to
Yeah,
understand.
no, I'm just,
So it
I'm
can't be
just
just
giving
what
you,
you pay for.
I'm giving some history, yeah.
No, I get it, I was.
Oh, yeah, it's gotta be shared. I just think if someone's getting a nickel of something that costs $1, they're more vested in it than you are.
Yeah, I'm offering just some historical perspective. In those sidewalks, or the pathways that go from the buildings that are along Woodward, the Daughter Building, in the Dykema Building, I can tell you, I had my attorneys were in both of those buildings, and we would often, and this goes back now 20, 25 years, we would walk from their office up to the strip center that's there. There's,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also over.
The
you
sandwich.
Go through the hedges to get
Yeah.
to the
Right.
Kingsley.
yeah,
and to
and
Salmons.
there's a hedge,
Yeah,
yep.
there's
Yeah,
a space. in-
your husband probably takes you to lunch there, right?
I was just driving that, I didn't see that hedge there, I was thinking that would be a likely, when you
There's a
said,
pathway.
that's what, to me, that's a pedestrian pathway
right.
that we
Yeah.
would have to
So
connect all that.
they already exist. People have been doing it
Well,
for,
all along Bloomfield Hills Country Club. There's
But I was just wondering
It
if
just
it has to
occurred to
be
me, that's why they never paved it,
wheelchair ready.
because we can't have a sidewalk.
anyways.
So, that's interesting.
Did you have any more comments, Mayor, or?
No, I just think, I think the survey piece, everybody,
Yeah.
to me, is important to get going on,
Right.
get it reviewed, get
Yep.
everybody's comments on it, and it's gonna be paper.
We can do paper.
No, for the residents, but to Alan's point, I mean, we prefer it not be until June that we hear. Is
Yeah.
there- And are you going to, I love the fact that you're gonna ask the resident, I mean, businesses and do all that soon as well.
Well, right, so we
What
hadn't.
is your timeline? Can you help us with that?
Yeah, so we've got basically that's 6 to 8 weeks before that June meeting, which is the time that we needed to get through all of the data collection, have our interviews. We do the initial survey, which if we don't do that, it might be sooner, but I don't know that it would be the May Planning Commission meeting.
Thanks. You want us to look at the survey before you send them out, right?
Do we want you to look at the survey?
You're gonna let us look at the surveys before you send them
Yes.
out.
Okay, so
But-
you don't wanna wait a month to look at the survey.
We do not want to wait a month, no.
Can you email
Would it
us?
be, how would it work if we worked with the mayor? Would we?
Not
trust-
me.
No.
I'm not a central depository, it's either them
We are
or,
also interested, we will all show up.
yeah.
I think I can speak for
Yeah.
everybody.
My only concern is designing a survey with 12 people trying to
Oh,
get.
don't worry about it. Just
Don't
bring-
worry about it, okay.
You bring your survey and design it, and we'll only add things, honestly, we'll probably delete any of the pushes.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Can, Dave and Amy, I know you guys are super, super busy, but can you get the survey questions, send it out to the planning and city commission and
Absolutely.
say, please give us your feedback by X amount of date, and then collect the feedback?
Yes.
Do we
So-
need to extend the moratorium?
Well, but I know you want to say something. I was just going to clarifying the survey. There were two efforts of public input. First one was the consumer spending survey, which we're going to try to not do if possible. The second one is the input that we want based on the study findings. So we have time to do that one. We don't have to rush on that survey. We're gonna start working on all the other data collection, and then at the end of that, we'll find out what people are interested in. But although if we have to mail everything and then have everybody mail it back, that is gonna take us more.
So Jill, I think there's a little bit of misunderstanding about the process. I think what Jill is saying, and correct me, that she wants to collect all this data, get this data together, pass it out to everybody, they look at that data, and then you develop some questions, survey questions, and some more questions from that, right?
Right, I mean, it might, because it's gonna be pretty focused on whatever our initial, like, recommendations or findings would be, what you wanna ask. You may get to the point where we do that and you say, okay, there's not really much to ask.
Just for
And it might
everyone's
be, but-
information, when we did this, we kept this real simple. It was,
That's the 2009 one, correct?
right,
Okay.
but a lot of stuff's still relevant. Our city is a low-density residential land use pattern. It talks about, these basic concepts. Got into library services, but there were not, this is a pretty simple survey. And I guess you guys are figuring this
That's
out,
why I
but.
think there's a difference. I think you're doing something different. than-
Right, no,
It'll be much more
Right,
targeted
so-
to this area.
Yeah.
Right.
It's totally different.
So whatever it is that you decide to do, this one ended up getting a fairly good response rate.
We could use
Because
it
it
as a
was,
model
it was sort of simple,
for its
you know?
simplicity,
And it
yes.
went to, agree, disagree, to your point, Alice, it went to agree, disagree. So,
Okay.
yeah.
But do we need to extend the moratorium? That's something I think we were gonna talk about at the city commission meeting.
Yeah, I believe we're discussing that tonight at the commission meeting.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say is if there's going to be a draft of a survey distributed to everybody, please make sure you don't conduct a conversation among yourselves. If you get the survey, make your comments and send them directly back to the administration. That's your input. We don't want to run afoul of the Open Meetings Act.
Council, can we meet together with no public notice in this room so the public can see how we discuss things, including the survey?
I would encourage you, if there's going to be a survey distributed, make your comments and send them back individually to the administration. Just don't want to even go close to that.
Okay, so can you just tell us your timeline? I feel like we've waited already a month.
Right.
We're just starting from zero, so I appreciate your communication, it's beautiful, but I feel like I don't hear the timeline of the game plan, so I'd love to understand that.
Based on all of the conversations that we've been having, we were trying to get to the point where we had the initial findings in June, where we would talk about more input, and I think our final report probably in August.
Yes.
Where's the survey going?
But I'm still not hearing a timeline, so what are you doing the next 2 weeks, and what are you doing the next two, are you?
We're meeting with the property owners, we are doing our market assessment, we're doing a physical assessment in the study area, we're looking at the zoning ordinance, looking at the master plan, looking at even additional examples from other places, to see how they kind of apply or don't apply. But all of that is the next 6 weeks, where we present to you in June.
Okay, so we haven't done any.
Planning commission.
Yeah, okay.
We have not.
Okay. So, is there a survey part of that, or building, or are you waiting till you get all your?
That's what we were waiting for, was the consumer spending survey, because that was gonna be our launch point. And if we're not doing that, that's okay. And if we don't wanna wait until June, then I'm thinking here that maybe we come back in May. We're not gonna have all our findings, but we'll have some things, and then we can come with some questions, drafted, very simple questions, and we can discuss it with the planning commission in May, and that at least gets the survey out shortly thereafter.
I had seen the city commission the same day.
Yeah. Does that
So
sound
you
like it
can
works?
update us on all of your findings at the May meeting.
Because we probably won't have it all finished.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah. We'll give you what we have.
Great.
Right.
Yeah, like a progress report.
Super,
Does that sound good?
super. Thank you.
Cool, we can do that.
And Dave, the draft of the survey questions you're gonna circulate, you don't need to mail those, right? This is gonna be emailed.
We can send them ahead of the planning commission meeting for your
Yeah.
next meeting in May.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, for efficiency, I don't know.
Yeah, we just send them out email, it's
Yeah,
fine. Just
I
give
don't
them
need
back.
mail, just
Yeah.
email.
Good.
Cool.
Anything
Anything
else?
more for Joe?
Sounds fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's good.
Thanks. This is fun.
Okay. Any other matters, or can I call our meeting concluded? Okay, adjourn our meeting. Thank you.